Our reading today is John 17, verses 1 to 11. After Jesus had spoken these words, he looked up to heaven and said, "Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son so that the Son may glorify you, since you have given him authority over all people to give eternal life to all whom you have given him. And this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. I glorified you on earth by finishing the work that you gave me to do. So now, Father, glorify me in your own presence with the glory that I had in your presence before the world existed. I have made your name known to those whom you gave me from the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they know that everything you have given me is from you. For the words that you gave to me, I have given to them, and they have received them and know in truth that I came from you. And they have believed that you sent me. I am asking on their behalf. I am not asking on behalf of those whom you gave me, because they are yours. All mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been glorified in them. And now I am no longer in the world, but they are in the world, and I am coming to you. Holy Father, protect them in your name that you have given me, so that they may be one, as we are one."
I totally meant for the learning together go like that. Totally meant for it to go like... I totally didn't mean for it to go like that, of course. I meant for it to go in a completely organized fashion in which everyone behaved themselves and didn't say anything. Because that's what you do when you're dealing with children, right? I'm super grateful that they didn't do that, actually, because it makes a really important point about what we were talking about. We're not all the same. If we were all the same, imagine how boring that would have been, that moment. Imagine if they'd all just kind of sat there and went, uh-huh. But they didn't, did they? Because we don't. Okay, maybe we don't dance around in a circle and Grandma has to come over and make us behave a little bit, but that's kind of the point of the whole thing, and they made it. Right? They're all different. We're all different. We sometimes aren't as willing to express our differences as we are when we're a kid. But as adults, because, there's that whole being polite and agreeing and... Seriously, no one's laughing yet? Because we don't. We're different. That's the point. We're all different. We're all different. We're not the same. Thank goodness Jesus didn't say that you should all be the same. This is a beautiful passage of Scripture. It's a beautiful moment, even. I love the Gospel of John for these beautiful moments. Every Gospel has its own charm. But the Gospel of John is so beautifully written. The language is so beautiful. And this is a beautiful moment in the story. It's the last night before Jesus is arrested. But the other Gospels tell us the story of the Last Supper, and from which we get communion and other things from those other stories. But the Gospel of John doesn't have that. What the Gospel of John has is Jesus talking to the disciples. They have a meal, and Jesus talks to them. It's this thing that we call the farewell discourse, right? It's Jesus' last speech to the disciples, and it begins with, "Don't be afraid." Well, actually, quite specifically, it begins with, "Don't let your heart be troubled. Believe." There's a difference, I realized, between saying don't be afraid and don't let your heart be troubled. There is. It's not the same thing. I've always thought it was the same thing. It's not. This farewell discourse begins with that, "Don't let your heart be troubled." And then he talks about some really important things. And then at the end of it comes this beautiful prayer. That's right. Jesus prays not just for the disciples. This prayer is actually quite long. It's the longest prayer, actually, in the Gospels. And it goes on after what we heard this morning to talk about much more. Jesus prays for you, in fact, in this prayer. Just think about that for a moment. Jesus prays for you. Not just for himself, not just for the disciples, but for all of us too. There's a couple of themes in this prayer. One of these themes is about the work of Jesus being finished. He's done. I'm done, and I'm passing this on to the disciples, and so they're going to need your help. That's kind of what we just heard, isn't it? And then he says this thing that comes back again and again in the prayer, that all may be one. In fact, that's why you're staring at a slide that says John 17:21, not 11, 21. Because this is the verse from which the United Church crest takes that phrase. Can I see the United Church crest slide? On the left-hand side here, ut omnes unum sint is Latin for that all may be one. It's our thing. Apparently it comes from verse 21. But that's a phrase that appears in this prayer repeatedly, and the first time it appears is in this verse 11 that we just heard, that all may be one. Except it's not just that all may be one. There's a really important part that's not on the crest, but it's sure implied. In fact, we kind of added it later on the right-hand side. I'll tell you about that in a second. Jesus doesn't just say that all might be one. He explains what that means. And it does not mean same. It does not mean that we might all agree on absolutely everything, and we might all behave and do everything the same way, so that everyone might be fully same. He says that all might be one, as you and I are one, God. That's the thing. It's not about unity of idea. It's not about unity of purpose, even, for that matter. It's not about uniformity, even, or sameness. It's a very special kind of unity, a very special kind of that all might be one. That all might be one in the same way that Jesus and God are one. How is that? Anybody? Floor's open. How is that? How is that? See, this is the thing. I don't know if you were following any of this. It just struck me yesterday. I saw a headline that said the Conservative Party was picking. No, I'm not going to talk about politics. But the Conservative Party was picking a new leader. And the key part of this is going to be unity and core values. What? Are you going to get... I mean, geez, I can't get 3 people to agree. You're going to get a whole bunch of people to agree? But of course, what they mean is ideas, principles, values, right? Things, we throw those words around a lot. We know what it means. It means somebody says we should be like this, and everyone goes, yep, I agree with that. That's not the same. This is not that. It's not that. This is something different. This is Jesus saying that all might be one in the way that God and I are one. Because after all, God is in me as I am in you. And you are in me as I am in God. And so God is in you. Because I'm in God and God's in me. So what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours and yours is mine. This prayer actually, the whole thing actually goes on. David Ewart, who's a minister in retired now in BC, writes a blog, and I was reading one of his old ones about this, and he refers to it as the swirling eddies of this passage. That we can and should easily get lost in the swirling eddies of this passage. And that's because if you read the whole thing, there's this constant repetition of God in me in you, you in me in God. God is in you. It just again and again and again. Even to the point of, wow, that's a little, okay, where are we now? And that's the point. We are precisely there. It shouldn't be a question of me and you. It should always be a question of us. We. But that's not our orientation, is it? As people, our orientation is me and you. Me, there's me. Because there's only one of me. We discussed this earlier. There's only one of me. Well, there's only one of you, or you, or you, or you, or you, or you, but I can collectively go, there's only one of me, and then there's all of you. That's our orientation, me and you. Us. What about us? What about we? When do we use we and us? Well, when we do things together, or you agree with me, and then of course we're us and them. Right? We're headed down the path already of confrontation, of disagreement, of difference. And our orientation in that difference is me and you. Which one of those is more important? That's not rhetorical. Which one of those is more important? Come on. You don't want to say it, do you? Me. Me is more important. You don't want to say it, but it's true. You're thinking it. I'm more important than you. Of course you think that. Why wouldn't you think that? Of course you would. I am me. I don't know you. I'm me, and I know me. Me is more important than you. Is it? Well, see, we've learned that. I think that's a learned orientation. We've learned there's me and you and me. And you're all different. I don't like all of you. Some of you I like. Some of you I don't like. In fact, I like the ones who are more like me. Oh, wait. Yeah, right? Because that's easier. It's more work. It's more work with people who are different. Why? Why do we? That's how we orient ourselves. It's the thing that leads to, I don't want to know you. You're different. Get away. You're bad. You're different. That's what it leads to. What if it led to, you're different. Tell me more. There is a way. It's the way that is, we are all one. This is how we are one. The other side of this is Mohawk, actually. This was added to the United Church crest in I'm going to get this wrong, 2014, I think, 2013. But we added it recently. And it's what I can only assume is the corresponding Mohawk phrase to that all would be one. It means all my relations. This is how we are one. We're all related. We are. We are all related. There was a wonderful, actually, it's more practical than that, than even spiritually. It's more practical than that. We are all related. There's a wonderful video that's been going around on Facebook and the internet and stuff. It was a little bit too long to show today, but if you find it, it's very worth seeing it. It's from England, I think, where they had a room full of people who were all different, from different places and everything, and they tested their DNA, and it turns out they're related. Because we're all related. If you've seen this, some people have seen this, right? And there's nothing more shocking than some of the people who say, well, I don't like those people. And then it turns out they're related. Because we are. It's not just that we're practically related that way. We are related. We are connected. We are one in our relationship. All my relations. We are all related. Let's start there instead of me and you. Let's start with we're related. If we're related, think about this for a minute. If you suddenly bumped into somebody on the street who said, I'm related to you because I'm your third cousin 4 times removed on your mother's side, would you say, oh, right, and walk away? Or would you say, really, tell me more? You're related. You want to know more. We're related. Why wouldn't you want to know more? Just because somebody looks different or sounds different or has different ideas, why would you simply go, no? Why wouldn't you want to know more? Well, because there's me and there's you. and me's more important. So I'm going to protect me from knowing stuff. What? Maybe that's it. Maybe I just don't want to know. Go away. I don't want to know. Why? Why don't you want to know? Is it too much stuff? Is it because they're too different? Is it because I disagree with you, but in the back of my mind I'm now questioning what I think because you just said something different? Oh man, it's hard being a human being, isn't it? Yeah, it's hard being a human being. But that's the thing, is we're related. We are related. It's so much easier. It's so much easier to be a square, like a black square or a white square. Don't even start me on the argument of which one you'd want to be, because they are all the same. It's just that some are black and some are white. It's so much easier to be the same, isn't it? It's so much more comfortable when you're surrounded by sameness, isn't it? Well, for a while, maybe. Maybe for a while. But how do you learn? How do you grow? How do you live? How do you engage life without engaging the things that are different? Jesus, I don't think, wanted the disciples to be the same, which is a good thing because it turns out they weren't. And they disagreed on stuff as they went forward. They did. Jesus didn't want them to be the same. I don't think for even a minute Jesus wanted them to be the same in terms of, you will go and teach this way, and you will teach these things, and make sure you do this and this and this, because we all have to do this the same way, because otherwise, not everyone will be the same. I think he realized they had different strengths, and they have different ways of doing things, and they should go and do that. As long as there is that oneness that is all my relations, a respect for all my relations. You know what that is. I haven't used the word yet, but you know what it is. You're already thinking what it is. It's love. It is. There's the whole DNA thing, which is just, honestly, watch it, because it's not just fascinating because it's fascinating sort of scientifically and realistically. It's fascinating in terms of people's perspective and how it changes. But love is the thing that connects us. It's the action of that connectedness. It's love that makes us go, tell me more. It's love that makes us go, I am not afraid to know more, even though what you are telling me causes me to question what I previously thought. Love is the thing that makes me go, yeah, that person over there is kind of dirty and, on the street, but they do seem to be upset. I'll go and talk to them and find out what's going on, instead of walking by on the other side, right? Because that human being is a human being just like me. We're related. Other than the children earlier, there cannot be a more prominent example of what it means to be one versus the same than the United Church of Canada. There can't be. There can't, because we are so different. From one congregation to the next, we are so different. We are. So what's the oneness? I actually used to say, I didn't realize that this was such a recent, actually it's not really, but usage has become more recent. Unity and diversity. Unity and diversity. It's actually a more political statement than we are one. But unity and diversity, I always thought, was the United Church's thing. Our unity comes from the fact that we recognize that we're different, we're all different, and we're respectful of the fact that we're all different. It better not be, because we won't last very long if that's our only basis for being together. It won't last. because it doesn't go all the way to that all may be one. Recognizing that we're different is just a step. Respecting that we're different is just a step. Loving each other because we're different is what makes us one. Connecting with each other, recognizing that we are, that is our oneness, our oneness. Love, God, Jesus, whatever those things you want to say, whatever words you want to use, that's our oneness. That's the thing that binds us, connects us, binds us together. That's our oneness. We're not the same. Why would we want to be? How beautiful is the fact that we're not, when we recognize that we are all related, that we are connected by that love. How amazing is the world when we recognize that we're connected. How amazing is creation when we realize we're connected to creation. Not just other people, which, by the way, is the intent of all my relations, is that you would remember that we are not just connected as people, but we are part of the earth. That we are connected to the earth, too. That's our oneness. That's the level on which we are one. So if you read this whole prayer, if you read this whole passage, and as David Ewart says, you get lost in these swirling eddies of this in that, in this, in that, and this, good. You should. Because that's where we live. We live in that. And when we do live in that, we do amazing and beautiful things. We love each other and we care for each other. It's not just words on a crest, which, by the way, is pretty cool. A symbolism in the crest is really cool, that things mean different. It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, it's great. If you know what the things mean, it's great. It's a great symbol. But if you don't, it means nothing. What means something is the living out of that all may be one, which is what Jesus is praying for. And we heard the part where he's praying for the disciples who are taking over the work, but later on in the same prayer, he will pray for you, for all creation, that all might be one, that we might know that and live it.